All right, how you doing? This is Tariq McGilberry for the Bear Facts podcast, the Bear Truth segment. I'm sitting here with, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm Lucina.
Lucina, like I said, I'm Tariq. So you were telling me about the sit-in you're holding.
Yeah, so behind me and around the corner a little bit, we're on day 32 of a sit-in at Drexel University in Drexel University's main building, demanding that John Fry, our president, as well as the university in general, commit $10 million to the preservation of the university city townhomes, which I'll explain in a second, as 100% affordable, permanent low-income housing, as well as removing billionaire corporate real estate developers Brett Altman and David Edelman from Drexel's Real Estate Advisory Council. Sitting here, it's organized by Drexel Community for Justice, which was founded in 2020, and has been active ever since. The University City Townhomes, which are actually renamed the People's Townhomes by the residents there, is an affordable housing complex in West Philadelphia on 40th and Market Streets that was created in 1980 and has served the...
That's with the little courtyard outside?
On
the south side of Market Street?
Yep.
Okay. I'm familiar with those for different reasons in the 90s.
Yeah, so they've been around...
In the 90s. I'm not trying to play, but you know.
They've been around since the 80s, and the people who are living there have been living there for generations. Their families have been living in just West Philadelphia for generations, and we're in what many might call University City, but as we know, that is fake. University City is made up. This is the Black Bottom. This neighborhood is a historically black neighborhood that Drexel University and the University of Pennsylvania have been encroaching on for decades through violent dispossession of homes, of housing, of businesses, all owned and operated by Black people who have been living here since the early 1900s, and for generations after that, with the first Great Migration in the early 1900s, establishing the Black Bottom, and that neighborhood existing to this day, but being violently dispossessed by Drexel and Penn. So we're Drexel students here.
So let me ask you this, not to cut you off. So, all right, so I know in this area as well as up where Temple is in North Philly. In the North Philly, they're doing a lot of remodeling.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So even further out, once you get past the University City corridor, when you get into west and southwest, around the Baltimore Ave corridor, they're revitalizing the neighborhood. Now, I was told, I knew the manifest destiny of the universities to head further west, both up north and out here. Now, I was I had this conversation a couple of times. Unfortunately, I was in jail. Now, the conversation I had 3 times in jail, people were happy, excited, because their mom got a $30,000, $100,000 check, you get what I'm saying, for her house. So that's we were all excited, you know what I mean? But then I was talking to somebody, professor here on the campus, or she was affiliated with the campus, I'm sorry. And she brought to my attention, a lot of people are renting, and they are displaced, you said. But then again, I was talking to somebody on the Baltimore Ave corridor, and they were excited because it was mostly minority-owned revitalization. So people aren't being displaced. You get what I'm saying? And then, my question for you, and this is not to contradict anything you say, or I like what you're telling me. It's intelligent stuff. I like to sit in. But every time I'm seeing development projects, mostly they're setting aside a certain amount of units for low income, and I know there's a difference between low income and then something else.
I can speak to that. So what you're describing with a lot of urban renewal and just gentrification processes where these buildings are being raised, a lot of them housing, and you're saying a certain number of them are set aside as affordable housing.
There's right now over on the Delaware, and I guess that's Port Richmond, Fishtown, on the Delaware Avenue over by Graffiti Pier. And then there's a lot of development throughout the city, and even because I'm a social worker by trade, and I've done case management, and a lot of the newer, not a lot, but a couple new fancy buildings, both on North Broad and downtown around the Liberty Place buildings, like have like subsidized, like true subsidized, like Section 8.
I'm going to speak to the areas around here because that's what I'm
That's
familiar
what I was
with.
getting to,
yeah, but what happens with these new buildings that are being raised is what was demolished to build those. Almost 100% of the time, at least in this area, in the Black Bottom in West Philadelphia, it was homes that were owned by black people and by working class black people, and they were raised using eminent domain, which is what the government, what the city, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but speaking for whoever's listening to this, eminent domain is what cities use or what governments use to just demolish buildings that they deem as blighted. They deem as blighted with they don't need to let the tenants know, they don't need to get consent from the tenants. They can just raise it because they deem it as blighted. And historically, if we look, neighborhoods and buildings that are deemed as blighted are black communities, they're black and brown communities, they're poor communities.
Like a lot of people are talking about what was going on in Kensington, and I was dealing with some people up in that area. And they were joking, like they were saying that eventually the cops are going to come through and clear everything out once the revitalization. And that was like 3 years ago. Yeah. And then like 6 months ago on the news, they were basically saying they were going to crack down like all the safe zones and talking about putting Narcan on the streets and nurses stations and stuff like that. Like now, I don't know when they're going to do it, because like I was up there the other day, and there is a lot of revitalization in different sections of Kensington. But I was just, when people were telling me, I was like comparing it to, you ever see The Wire in Amsterdam? Yeah, but like I said, I'm not trying to contradict.
No, I know. And then just so these houses and these buildings are demolished that were a part of a black community, and what's raised are these multi-million-dollar buildings, many of them residential. And just to speak to an example of like subsidized housing being included, what generally happens is that they'll build this big building and there will be hundreds of market rate units, and they'll set aside maybe 20, 15 affordable housing units, which is it's a scrap. It's not like, and it's also, these affordable housing units are now in an area that's going to be clogged with young, economically elite, mostly white, often students who police black and brown people and poor people, and there's going to be a higher police presence, and there's not going to be affordable grocery stores because you're bringing in, along with subsidized housing that maybe, and generally it's actually not being offered in these new buildings. They're just 100% market rate housing. It's very rare that affordable housing is actually included, and even if it is, it's like very minimal, and it comes along with everything else being super expensive, the neighborhood not being affordable.
Yeah, I've heard about those tactics. I've definitely heard about those tactics.
And it's also like when you demolish, like nothing is worth the demolition of a community. Like, and also who's profiting off of these giant buildings? It's not owned by the community. It's not owned by the people who live there and have lived there for generations. It's owned by these billionaire real estate developers. Even if they throw a scrap of 20 affordable housing units, it's still money in their pocket.
No, I definitely get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying, and like I said, I'm from the Philadelphia area. I don't know, are you from the Philadelphia area?
I'm not. I just go to Drexel.
So like, I definitely understand what you're saying, but like, for me, like, seeing what I found out Philly calls shells. I don't know if you're familiar with the word shell. All right, so it's like an abandoned house.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But there's no framing, there's no nothing. It's just four walls. Like, I used to ride down the L from like 69th Street to Center City or whatever, and some of the times I'd be looking out the window on Market Street, and I could see from the front window before they started boarding it up all the way to the back wall, no wood, just bricks. And like, I'm not trying to knock Philly or nothing like that. I'm not trying, but when like I said, I get everything you're saying. I'm not trying to be oppositional. I'm not trying to
I don't think you are.
It's just like, when stuff like that, or when you have fields where they're being unutilized. Some have hazardous conditions, others are just unutilized. You get what I'm saying? Like, around my way, or going out my way, where the 13 trolley goes, they had a whole section of a block, like half a block that was empty. Now they're putting up a whole, I guess, apartment building. You get what I'm saying? There's other places around like that. Like I even talked to a development company about trying to work for them scouting locations because, like you said, like there's a lot of vacant, like block-long vacant joints that you can put these structures up. Nobody's displaced.
Well, except what was there before there was a vacant lot there. Oftentimes what actually happened is those development companies, especially back in the 60s, used eminent domain to raise those lots, and then they just hold them. They own them. They don't do anything with them until that's actually not what happens. What they do is they buy these houses from Black community members. They buy them out, they push them out, oftentimes with really violent tactics that are not legal, but they buy them out and then they wait for the houses to become dilapidated, and that's what you see, and then they use eminent domain to demolish them and build these buildings.
No, I definitely know what you're talking about. I'm kind of being forced out my house now, but it's not my house, I'm just renting. But at the same time, I'm not playing, but at the same time, like what I'm saying is like in Philadelphia, they got the land bank, and this is, I'm sure you've seen 100 vacant lots. So the city owns these joints, and some of them, like I said, are the size of blocks. Right? Like me, I'm trying to do different things as far as community gardens and like recreational gardens in these spots. And that's why I said when I was talking to the developer, I talked to a couple of developers about scouting these because like throughout the city, I know a bunch of locations. So like you said, you don't have to displace. But sometimes it is for the developer about location. Like even on the Delaware.
They're trying to make money. Yeah. And how are you going to make money? You bring in economically elite people, which are generally like affluent and more often than not white, and you bring them into these communities, these promised communities. And I mean, essentially, I feel like we're on the same page, but that's why we're at the sit-in.
I definitely feel what you're saying, and I'm just trying to present like just like I was saying, like on Columbus and Spring Garden, they're putting up something there, but there's a vacant lot, and that's like riverfront property, so that would be a good.
But I would just like urge people to like look a little deeper. Like before the 1960s, before urban renewal in Philadelphia in the 1960s, what was there? Maybe it's been vacant for the past 10 years.
No, there's nothing. No, like I think we're misunderstanding vacant. You're thinking vacant houses.
No. I'm talking vacant lot. Yeah. But what was there? I'm saying before urban renewal, what was there?
I get you, but if there's nothing there, like, that's a good spot to build on, correct?
I'm just talking about a legacy.
You're not pushing people out. Like, that's what I'm saying. When I talked to the professor, she was saying, because like I said, me and Jill, I'm like, yeah. And this is 3 different conversations, you get what I'm saying? But when she brought up the point of the renters, like, you know, the people that own is like, yeah, give me the cash, I'm out. I'm going to Boca, you get what I'm saying? I'm out. I'm going down south. Warmer weather, but like you said, with the people that rent, it's like now you're paying somebody that lives in Connecticut for their property that they don't even check on from time to time. You know what I'm saying? So I feel what you're saying there, and that causes that displacement. So like I'm saying, whether it was that or like I said, like out in Southwest around that Baltimore Ave corridor, they're telling me, I don't know how true it is, like, but they're telling me that's a lot of minority-owned revitalization and stuff like that. So good to see that, and like, you know, for me, like knowing the city, and I'm not trying to contradict anything you're saying.
I don't feel like you are.
Yeah, like you gave me a lot of things that I didn't know. I just know, like, from what I'm seeing, it is areas that are just like you said. Like I said, that conversation in jail is just like you said. But then I am seeing, as somebody who's familiar with this city, a lot of development going on in spots where the land was just sitting unused for decades. You get what I'm saying?
And also, but part of what we're also trying to point out with this sit-in and calling out our university, it's not just like the development that's happening right now, but it's this, but it's the historical, like Drexel needs to hold itself accountable for its historical role in the displacement.
They're known for raping and pillaging. That's what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, quite literally.
I did not know that. I thought it was all education and brain.
No, that's not what this university. Our president's a businessman. He's not. He's not an educator. He's not invested in education. He's invested in lining his own pockets and the pockets of his billionaire friends. And I would love to talk about like urban renewal and revitalization and gentrification and all that. I don't have a ton of time.
No, it's all good.
But I'm happy to answer any more questions like on the sit-in or.
Okay, no, that's good. Like, I fully support your cause. I don't want it to seem like I'm against my folk, against the protest folk. I'm fully for.
No, we know you're on board. We know you're on board.
No, I'm currently canceled, so it's hard for me. I gotta explain everything with a precursor. But thank you. Can I just get you to say, check out the Bear Facts podcast. Your name. Check out the Bear Facts.
Yeah, my name is Lucina. Check out the Bear Facts podcast with Tariq.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. I think that's all the questions I have for you. But I'm gonna give you a business card so maybe we can continue this conversation to another segment.
Yeah, well, please keep stopping by. Yeah.
Hopefully, like I said, I'll be admitted and I'll see you on campus.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.